Okay. All right. I think we are good. Let me just check. Hello. All right. Okay. I think it's okay. Now it's echoing. All right. We're live. Hi. We're here with Anna and Judita. Oh, good things. Good things. So, Judita, how about you guide us into breathing? Let's start this with the breath because we have a big
I'm
topic
so
today that is
glad.
important. So
Yeah.
let's do it.
Oh, I'm so glad that you said that. I was like, please, can we just start with the
Start with the
breathing
breathing. Yeah.
and just tuning into the body? So, if you could just find a comfortable position and maybe you're just sitting or lying down or standing, whatever you are doing, and just slowly noticing what's happening in your body and taking a deep inhale, the deepest you took in a day, or maybe you're just starting your day, or maybe you're just finishing your day, depending on where you are in the world. Or maybe you are in the middle of your day and you just need a little break. Another deep inhale. And exhale through the mouth. So inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. And just slowly noticing what's happening in your body. So you can just slowly check what's happening from your head to toes and just scanning your head. Your shoulders, notice if your shoulders are loose or if you have any tensions in there. You can even move them a little bit. Just noticing what's happening with your chest, with your belly, noticing what's happening with your thighs, with your pelvic, and just connecting through your feet with this beautiful earth, with this beautiful time, which is really, really intense time. And wherever you feel you're ready, just slowly open your eyes. You can even stretch a little bit. Ah, beautiful.
Thank you. And I love having you on here. And that's what I love about your work, that you're really like bringing us into the body. So I'm gonna link a link to your channel down below.
Thank
Um,
you.
I just, and I love how you mentioned like, wherever you are, whether it's evening, and we have like a really contrast, like where I am, it's morning. Okay, I'm just starting the day. And where you are, you're ending your day. So it's like there's no wrong time to take a deep breath and come into the body. Okay, we want to do it in the
Yeah.
morning, we want to do it in the evening, we want to do it during the day, all the time. It's important.
And I was just thinking about the same thing. I was just like, wow, you are going into the spring and I'm going into
Yes.
the autumn, right?
Yes.
And you're
Yes.
like
That too.
spring, you're like, yeah, your like t-shirt is like very bright and mine's like
Yes.
dark. Like I'm going into this, like, into the autumn, falling leaves, right? Like just letting
Yeah.
go.
We have that
Yeah.
contrast too in the because we also did a live like in the fall, and and I'm there with like, okay, I'm wearing all black and it's that red
Yeah.
lipstick. I'm like, I'm in the snow queen
So
energy,
bright.
and you're there like flowers and like rainbows and like that. Yeah.
And you can
I
even
love it.
behind me see like actually
It's
these like
dead. Yeah.
like that. No, nothing.
It's like there are no leaves dead. Going into
Yeah.
hibernation. Yeah. And I love, the energies. Like you start talking about that. It's just like we're going through so many turbulent energies. I also hear, I mean, like in my own life, there's been a lot going on. And for so many, especially people who feel energetics deeply, right? We have shifts in our lives. We have life just kind of I want to say punching us in the face, but like in a good way, like in a loving, the old version of you isn't working anymore, kind of punching in the face. So a lot of us are going through this transition. And I know for myself, there's some traditions that I'm like holding on to the past self. It's like I don't want to. And what do we do when worry comes up, right? And I know that that's been coming up as well in your life. This is what I love about this live, by the way. we're talking about it as it's happening, right? Because so many teachers, like they talk about things like they've gone through that like years ago. It's like, oh, I remember that time when I was there. Like, do you remember it though? Or are you at the like, are you after it when you're like, oh, actually, at the end it all works out? Like, we want to talk about it when we're in the middle of it and like, how do we move through it? Because I feel like it's more relatable to people, right? Because it's not a, oh yeah, you'll be fine. And that's the end result. It's like we want to have those tools and what do we do in the process?
That's so beautiful what you just shared with me. I was actually thinking about it before our call. I was just thinking, wow, a few days ago, I was just doing a ritual where I was like giving earth, like surrendering to the worry, right? And just when before our call, when I was in the bathroom, this thought popped into my head while I was like thinking, wow, I remember when I was growing up, I was growing up with the parent which was always worrying, always constantly worrying about something. So this was just me, like, learning that it is normal to worry. This is the way we worry all the time, right? This is like, how you deal with the situation. You just worry. And when I was, because as you mentioned, when I'm going also through some personal stuff, and it's really hard, and it's really worrying, but at the same time it can be also energizing. So you have these two extremes of like worry and energize, right? Like, and what I wanted to say by that is that when I was sitting in this ritual and just giving this worry to the Mother Earth and just surrendering to it, and just letting it go, and also trying to deal with this worry, or not deal, trying to process this worry, and not to see it as a worry. Funny thing enough, that few days or 2 days after, something really big happened in my life, which was really worrying. Really, really like a big thing. And I was just there sitting, and I was like, okay. So is this a test, right? Is this like, worry going to test me if I'm going into the stress, like, stressing out, going to into thoughts and just thinking, overthinking everything, different scenarios, how I'm going to do it? Or am I going to like overwork myself and into doing and just get through and push through it, right?
It's like the ego.
Or
I feel like it's the ego looking how it can hook you. So like,
yes,
when
yeah,
you're talking
just
about
in
the
different
testing, it's
way.
more like your own mind's
Mhm.
like, "Ooh, can I get you this way? Like, can I what, it's like, "Oh, let's go in the past," of like, "Oh, this reminds me of a past scenario," or, "Oh no, what if this thing happens in the future?" That's how the ego is taking you out of the present moment by this worry. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's exhausting, right? It's just that's where my exhaustion's coming from, like
Yeah.
from the worrying, right? And I'm able to actually see all that. And because I'm surrounded, I was just messaging my friend today. I was like, wow, because I'm surrounded with so much nature around me, it's just so grounding, and it's so holding me in all this. It's that is like kind of that channel which is just helping me to release anything, and release anything what's happening in me without me even trying to release it, right?
Yeah.
It's
Just
just
takes
like,
it in.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it's just around you all the time. And
Yeah.
that's what I would love to encourage whoever is like watching. Can you actually like notice what's happening around you? Can you actually, maybe you don't even go outside that often, and you don't spend much time in the nature, right? But I feel like this was so healing, and it's still so healing because it's so present. It's still happening right now with me, that without the nature, I don't know where I would be.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
want to actually give, like steps so that people listening and watching can utilize this. Um,
Mm.
because yeah, it's like I actually just now realized I'm like, oh damn it, that would have been such a good podcast episode. We might have to redo that one. So yeah, some of the things that you mentioned that I really, really loved and I wrote them down, that first of all is understanding um that there's this beautiful quote. I don't remember who said it. It was worrying is praying for something you don't want. And that oftentimes when we worry, we have a self-fulfilling prophecies because like when you're worrying, you're lowering your frequency. And therefore that which you're manifesting, your ego is like when you're giving it power, right? When you're actually listening to that part of you, it's creating those things in your outer reality. So therefore it's like, oh, see, well, I knew that was gonna happen. Like, of course it was gonna happen when you're thinking about it 24/7, right? And so a lot of times, like when it starts as a little worry, but when we actually entertain it, it snowballs into this whole thing. And then we find ourselves in the snowball, okay? Like in the middle of it. And I love how some of the points that first of all, we can work at it from the present moment. And, this is what your teaching is all about. This is what my work is all about. But also, it doesn't negate the fact that the ego wants to take you to the past or to the future, right? And
Definitely.
what I love to do in my work is actually like, let's do it. Like, let's use the weapons that the ego has, but against itself. And I
Mm,
love what you brought up, this awareness, like, oh, my parents' default was worrying. And actually, as you said that, I was like, wait a second. Like in my family, there was a particular thing that I'm worried about right now that like that energy keeps coming up, and I'm like, oh my God, that's my mother. And
mm,
I loved it because it's like, wait a second, like, yeah, there's that pattern, right? So this is
mm,
such an important point. I feel like, yes, we're working in the present moment and we're gonna address steps how to go into that. But bring to awareness as well. Like if your ego wants to go to the past or future, it's like, yeah, let's do it. Let's actually understand where it's coming from and understand that it's not you. That it didn't
mm.
originate with you. Like a baby isn't like born like, I'm gonna worry in this lifetime. It's gonna be so
Yeah.
fun. It's like, no, we're learning these things. So
Mm,
who did you learn it from? Who did you accept it from? And it's
mm,
time to give it back. Yeah.
mm,
And I love,
mm,
love, love what you said with the whole earth. And that's one of the steps. First of all, like understanding that it's in your body, right? Because a lot of us we think it's in our mind. Like the worry is like, oh no, I'm just worrying and I'm figuring out. It's like it's in your body. And again, this is what you do so much of it. You work with the body, you bring people into the body, you work with the energies that are stagnant, you work with the physical symptoms as well. And understanding that the energy is in the body and how do we surrender that to the earth, which I
mm,
absolutely loved. Are there any tips for how to somebody who's like has no idea what they're doing? How do we do that? So like, okay, well, I'm feeling worry. And then I'm on the step of let's say bring it to the body. Where in my body do I feel worry? And what do we do from
mm.
that point?
Yeah, well, actually, if you just tune right now, into your body, where do you feel where do you feel the worry? Very often the worry is in your mind, right? It's around like your head, because worry is actually thinking about something all the time. You
Hmm.
are just overthinking something. You are never really here. You are in the future or you are in the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
You are not here in the moment of like experiencing what's around you, because and I don't know if the worry in my case was ever really like around the body, but mainly it was just really the top of my head where like
Hmm.
my thinking and the logic and everything is based, right?
Can you
Because
guide me? Can you like use me? Because I feel like for me, it's like it would be my heart. And I feel like with a lot of clients, like I also have, it's like, oh, that concern, like the heart is closed, like the heart can't fully
mm,
open. So if
oh
I were to
nice.
come with you and say it's like, okay, it's in the chest right now.
Oh,
Guide
so
me
it's
through
in the
it.
chest. So if you
Yeah.
just close your eyes and you just take a deep inhale in and exhale, and another deep inhale and exhale. And now you just leave your breath naturally to come in and coming out. Like do not control your breath. Your breath is there with you. You can notice if it's coming through the right nostril or through the left nostril. Just notice what's happening, notice what's present, notice where your like feet are, notice what your body is doing. Just slowly being here with me right now. And now notice what's present for you. You said that you have like some tension around your heart, or like your worry is sitting around your heart. Is that still present for you?
Yeah, I would say if you think of the energy of worry, I sort of invite you to
Mm.
like, if you think worry, it's like, where do you feel? I feel like this block in my heart.
It feels like a block in your heart. Does it have a color?
Hmm. Yeah, maybe like a black boulder.
Like a black boulder. And when you actually notice that worry, can you be there with the worry, not trying to get rid of it? Just be there with that boulder, black boulder, which is just there, sitting there.
Yes.
How does it feel when you are there with this black boulder?
Stagnant.
Stagnant. What do you need not to feel stagnant?
Hmm. For it to move.
Forward to move. That's very, very, very broad. Forward to move. So how does it look like to forward to move? To take me
No,
there. I
for it, like
feel
for
it.
the
For
boulder
it
to
to
move.
move. For the boulder to
Like it's like I'm
move.
okay to be in the stagnation.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I want you to address for the people watching. It's like, what comes up as a no? Because like mine was a yes, because like I've done this work many times. Like, oh yeah, I can be
Yeah.
present with it.
Yeah.
What if the person's like, no?
No. Can you be okay with no?
Hmm. I
Can
just
you
wanted
be
to
okay
bring that,
with
yeah.
no? Ooh,
Yeah.
can you be okay with the energy no? And can you feel that power that you are deciding yes or no? That you have the power to decide that you want to or you don't want to. Because lots of people feel when they are stagnant that they actually don't have that power, that they are
Mm.
stuck or stagnant, and that there is no way to move like, forward, or there's no way to get out of it. But actually you always have the power. The power is in your hands.
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
want to bring something to awareness that um when we have a rejection, like what you resist persists. So when we're in that state of like, okay, where is it? Let's say like, the boulder in the heart. It's like, can I be okay with it being there? It's like, no. If you're starting a war with it, if you're fighting it, then it won. Because that's how we
Hmm.
were talking about. Like, that's how the ego hooks you. So it's got you.
Hmm.
Okay, but let's get back to my free session here. Okay, so I have the boulder. I have I have the boulder in my heart.
You have the
Um,
boulder in your head. You
yeah.
are in your heart, and you are
Yeah.
actually, and in your head. Sometimes the boulder is in the head
Sometimes
and
in the
in the
head.
heart,
And
right?
also notice how the energy can move. And I feel like that's an important one because I have that with clients too. They feel like, okay, right, where's it now? Oh, it was like they go kind of from
Yeah,
the memory of it, like, oh, it was in the heart. It's like, no, I could have moved to the arm now. Like can have different sensations and the importance of staying with the
yeah,
body. Yeah, so
yeah.
mine is still in the heart.
So yours is still in the heart, and not to really overwhelm like our audience. The next step I would actually give is to put your hands wherever that boulder at that tension is, just to feel how healing your hands can be, right? We often like look for the healing from like, from the outside, that people are providing the healing for us, but we don't realize we are our own healers. You are your own healer. You know the best, like what is the best for you and for your body.
Yeah, and
You
I want to
know
say that since
the best way.
I'm the example here. What helped to me was like to put my hand as well in the solar plexus because even though I feel like it's in the heart, like that's where we
Mhm.
feel our anxiety. I'm like, okay, that part of me actually needs support right now. Like that part of me,
Mhm.
like the ego needs support to be able to be okay with this or to move this. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm just saying there's
And
no right and wrong. Yeah.
yeah, and if you want more, then you can book the session with us.
It's like those, it's like, wait, but what about my free session? Yeah, and just noticing that. And can you guide us a little bit of how would you, like a simple way
Hmm.
of how to, from this place of this is what I feel, how do you move it down to surrendering to the earth? Like it's
Mm,
very, I know it's like it's a much deeper process when you do it with a facilitator, but
mm,
something that people can just try on their own. Like if you do feel this anxiety, or if you feel like, okay, well, I'm feeling like a lot of worry and I want to
yeah.
surrender it to the mother to hold this. Um,
Well,
how would you do that?
yeah, so actually the easiest way, sometimes I do it even when I'm in the building or when I am outside. The best thing is actually to go outside, to take yourself outside and be on the ground and take off your
Mm.
shoes and be like touch the grass, touch the wood, touch the soil, touch the ocean, touch the like, beach, wherever, is the nature. And what I usually do is that I stand on the earth and I actually give it to the earth. I just say things
Mm.
like, yeah, I whisper them or I say them in the mind or aloud, depends. And I say, take it, take whatever is like, present in me, take whatever is here, whatever is not serving me anymore, just take it, and just like, transform it. So, and then I feel immediate, like immediate release, immediate, like, lightness in my
Yeah.
body. But sometimes people think, oh, I am like, I don't know, I don't want to go out into the nature. You
Mm.
can still do it in the building, right? You still like, can be sitting on the chair and just like, because the connection is not just by the earth itself, it's just through, because everything what's made around us is made of earth,
Yeah.
right?
Like it
Everything
wasn't
is
imported from outer space, it's all from here.
yeah, yeah. So, and
Mm.
everything has like a piece of water in it. Was living or has some kind of energy, right? It
Yeah.
was like a living organism or like something. What was like, the way it was made. It is the earth. The earth is around you. So, yeah. So usually, what helps is like to whisper these words, like please, like earth, take whatever doesn't serve me, like or please can you help me, support me in this process.
Love it. Love it. I also want to add to this that several points. First of all, as you were talking about the research, I love houseplants and doing this with houseplant. I remember when I was actually going through a really deep release, and I had my houseplant that I had this on, it's in the living room, and it was one that like I got it when it was like a baby, and now it's a beast. And I have a really deep connection with that plant, and I was really going through like a big purge. And I have my boyfriend sitting there on the couch, and I'm taking this plant. I'm also taking like I build a quick altar to just have the support of the elements, and it's part of the shamanic work that I do. And he's watching that, and like at the end, he's like, "What was up with the plant?" So I was like, "Why are we sitting with a plant like that?" So the soil from the plant, I feel like that also grounds you, and also it's okay to release to that. So basically, what you're doing in a lot of these practices is that which you no longer need, like that energy is like, I don't know what to do with it, right? I don't need it anymore. You're giving it to
Mm,
the earth like compost. Like the earth
mm,
can utilize it as life, right? It's like the crap, the earth knows what to do with it. You don't know what to do with it. You don't need it. For you, it's just
mm,
trash. But for the earth,
mm,
it isn't. So I feel like when, especially we connect to soil, like in roots of the tree, you said also putting hand on the tree, you're giving it to something living, something that's able to transmute it. And
mm,
another part of this is that, and this is really in the shamanic tradition that I work closely with, that a lot of us go into, okay, well, that didn't do anything. And it's because in the shamanic tradition, it's like people are the keepers of the earth. And when you build a relationship with the earth, you can feel it holding you. And so when we take time to, work with the practitioners that are there guiding us to that, we build connection with ourselves, then we build the connection with our environment. A lot of the work, I mean, Judita, you're all about connecting to the body, working with the body. So therefore, when you come into dialogue with the body's actually open to speak. It's open to listen, but also be heard, right? Because you're not disconnected. And that's what we addressed in our course, Confident Connect Woman, that it was if you're disconnected from the body, you're gonna have trouble listening to it, hearing it, and then the intuition and so on. But even like, okay, I have any aches or whatever, it's like it's difficult to access that wisdom if you've
mm,
shut it off at a young age and if it wasn't safe and you haven't
mm,
connected to the body. Part of the work
mm,
that I do is a lot about also physical space. It's like I have this when I'm on vacation, and it's like within a few days I really miss my home, and then I come into my home like, oh, it holds me. Like I can just
mm,
feel the energies. Why? Because I do the new moon rituals, I do the full moon rituals, like I have my tools. My home, there's a particular energy being put into it, And therefore it's holding me when I need. There, like every room has I want to say like an intention, a job, like there's a purpose to it, and those spaces hold me. Why? Because I build connection with it. Same with the earth. So if you're there like, okay, well, I'm going to sit with the earth, I don't think it's going to do anything. It's because we're so disconnected from that. Because like as a society, we've been taught that, well, what you do with the mind is what matters. We've been taught out of listening to energy. We've been taught out of building an energetic connection with our space, with nature, with our bodies. And so
Mm.
the more you cultivate that, the easier it will be to utilize those energies. And I just want to
Mm.
communicate that because, you're so aligned, like you're so in tune with that. And you're like, oh, I'm just around nature and just like takes me and takes away that, like I just feel the relief instantly, right? But for that, you
Mm.
have to be willing to achieve, like, and like it took you years to get to this place, right? And this is why you're able to guide people to that now because you know how to do it. But think of
Mm.
yourself like, I don't know, 10 years ago. You had no clue like that. If you just went to the beach, you're like, "Oh, okay, I get the view's nice. I feel like that's
Yeah.
relaxing." Or like, okay, I've read that looking at water calms the mind, but I don't really
Yeah.
feel it because you didn't build that connection. Yeah.
Yeah, you are absolutely right. There wasn't the connection. And I just really want to also like speak about when you speak about the body and what is right for your body, right? Um I think we very often forget what also like that the nutritious and
Mm,
nutrition, the foods and the whole foods are
yeah.
also playing such a big part in our life, right? And how we feel and that connection with my body. Because if I go back when
Yeah.
I wasn't really, yeah, when I wasn't really able to like, connect with my body, it was also the times where I wasn't really eating very well. And I never really noticed. Like I kind of knew. It's like this weird thing that that the processed, heavily processed food or junk food or lots of different like, foods are not making you feel good. And you sometimes like forget because it's so much easier. The society is so fast in like processing and like going, that it's just so much easier to grab something processed and go for the apple or for banana, right? And for some like fruits or for something what is nourishing, because we very often forget that we are like 80% of water, right? And we are living organism, and all these like beautiful fruits and veggies which are growing around us are also like nourishing us from inside out. And I never really realized that until
Yeah.
a year ago, when I really started like realizing how I feel after the certain foods, like, I was eating, and noticing the patterns which were repeating. So I just wanted to really highlight this, like, as well, because like a lot of people don't really say that loud, that you can actually meditate 24/7, but if you will be eating something what is not really making you feel good, it's not
Yeah.
really going to help either, right?
As you're saying
Yeah.
that right now, I'm like, we have to do another live on this because I'm just like, oh my God, that's such a huge topic. Because I feel like we were on that journey at this around the same time. Um, and yeah, it's like we are consuming, let's say, or like we're like, oh right, that's not good for me. But it's like it's just fast, or everybody does it, right? Because that's also difficult. It's like everybody does it. That's just like what especially when we're talking about connection, right? And we as society, it's like, oh, we go out in a group of friends and we eat crap. That's what we do. And that's like kind of like, and when you step out of that, you realize that like your, social behavior also changes when you become more aware of your food. And that's something that you and I both, I feel like, went through. And
Hmm.
so that's a whole different topic. I don't want to bring it into here, but in regards to the worry pattern, and how do we
Mm.
trust life? It comes from trusting yourself. It comes from holding yourself. So let's say you had a parent who, or a partner who was there. Okay, well, I care for you and I'm there for you. And at the same time, they would just not acknowledge you most of the time or do things that are harmful for you. Would you trust that person? Probably
Mm.
not. And yet that's what we do with the body, right? It's like, oh, right. It's like when shit hits the fan and we're in this worry mode, it's like, how can I make you feel better? How do we put out the fire? And oftentimes it comes with more self-abandonment in the sense that I actually had that yesterday. I was because I'm fasting right now. I'm doing the Ramadan even though I'm not Muslim, but I love that practice and I'm doing it a little bit differently. I'm like only consuming food and water in a 2-hour interval. Don't try this at home, but it works for me. I have my reasons to do this for a whole month. And I know I had my nutrients. I know I'm good. But because there was this ego coming up, my ego was like, oh my God, I'm starving and I need this. And you didn't feed me enough. But it wasn't like I don't have enough nutrients. It was this emotional void that wanted to be filled. And so often
Mm,
what we do is like we have this, oh yes, I'm there for you and I'm hearing you. And at the same time, we fill those emotional voids that are coming from the ego with junk food, with processed food, with, carbs and like all these things that don't serve us. And forgetting the fact that you're actually feeding that very thing that you're trying to avoid. Like sugars or like, Coke or whatever. It's like that's liquid depression. Like
mm,
you're literally consuming depression. There's research on that. Like, why are you doing that? I was
mm,
recently watching a stand-up show and this comedian was saying about how he was drunk and then the next day he was so sick and his body is like, throwing out. And I'm just there listening. I'm like when we know that this is what happens to our body, like how do we go and do this like night after night? Like your body is obviously screaming, like this is not okay. And we keep
mm,
doing it again, but it's like what we're expecting for us to, I don't know, connect to our intuition or for us to feel safe or for us to feel okay, where at the same time we're poisoning our bodies. It's like
mm.
you can't create connection through repeated disconnection.
And yeah, and do you
Yeah.
know, like when you were just talking, what was coming up for me was like, in some way, by doing this, I feel like there is this weird safetiness, like
Mm.
we feel like safe in that because that's what we know.
Yeah.
And by like going into the healing journey, it was so unknown. I had so not idea like, what is going to happen. And I was worried about it too, right? I worried like, but I don't know what's gonna happen when I actually start like, my healing journey and I will start looking after myself and I will start trusting the life and everything what's happening in my life, right?
And I want to
So
interrupt you because I want to say like everything feels wrong though at that stage too.
mm,
Right? It's like
mm.
you're like, I don't know if this is working.
Yeah,
I don't know if it
yeah,
isn't. I don't know
yeah,
how I feel like
yeah,
right now. You're like, oh, I looked at the patterns. I understand some foods um,
yeah,
don't serve me. But at the beginning, when
mm,
you're starting a healing journey, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I just want to
yeah.
go to the old pattern. Like, yes, it's shit, but at least I know it. Right? Yeah,
Almost,
true.
almost went through. Yes, no, it's beautiful journey, and actually, what comes for me, but I like there's another topic, like to talk about. So we need to do another life. Is also
Yeah.
that people like think that you will stop maybe worrying and that's when your life is like it's just a happiness and it's the wholeness and it's like this is it, I am enlightened and like my life is like
When
full.
you eradicate worry. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like this is just never ending process. This is just like like that really wave up and down and it's happening and it's just part of the life. And I just want to really like whoever is watching right now to encourage you that whatever you are worrying about or whatever you are going through right now, um that's what helps you to grow. That's what makes you the person you are, and you know the best what to do.
I love that. And I love that. I feel like as a judgment, it's like, yes, it's part of life, but I feel like the beautiful thing about it is that when you start from the beginning, it's like, oh God, worry, I don't want this. And it goes into like, oh my God, worry. Like, how do I use this? Like, I get to hold myself through this and I get to love myself through this. And I was sharing something really deep with somebody yesterday, and I like my ego couldn't get the words out of my throat. And it was so fantastic because I'm like, I hate it. Like there was this feeling of like, oh my God, I don't want to have this conversation and I don't want to say what I'm saying. And at the same time, I know that because I've had so many of these, I know that at the other side of this is freedom. That like
Mm,
once I say this, like I am doing this because I deserve to be free. Like I'm doing this not because the other person needs to hear or whatever. It's like I'm doing this because this is me against my ego. And not
mm,
like I made so much content and so many videos about like we want to love this part. We're not fighting it. but it wasn't like a fight, it was more of a discipline. Like, no, I'm owning this and you are not gonna own me. And so it's kind of like claiming that. So it's like when we have this worry, it's like we have a very different relationship with it after a while. And this is, the power of, like I said, working with someone because I mean, you and I have the same mentor. And really, I feel like they've been so great at teaching us how to hold it and how to love it and how to come into wholeness. That we're able to teach that, in our own way. And it's really that. It's like the relationship with worry changes. It's like you may still have that, but the frequency is completely different once you experience it. And I feel like a big part of this is judgment. Like judgment of yourself, especially when you're on a spiritual path. I feel like it's like, well, I shouldn't have worry anymore. It's like you're human though, right? So
Mm.
judgment towards ourselves, like what's wrong with me that I still feel this? And I've actually had some people say that it's just like, oh, well, you're teaching one thing, but you're like living another thing. I'm like, no, actually, me feeling the worry fully is my teaching. Like that's
Mm.
actually what it's about. So I'm embodying it by being there fully with. Now the teaching
Mm.
is not like, okay, I'm just going into toxic positivity and I'm always happy and butterflies and rainbows. It's like when there's anger and I allow it and I hold it. Not I dump it on people, but like I
Mm.
go into it. I'm not afraid of it. I love it. And I use all of these emotions to connect with myself and experience that freedom. Like I said in that conversation, I was like, ooh, I don't like this, but on the other side of that is freedom when you're able to hold it fully. And
It's
yeah, and also the just last thing, the judgment, because it's all about judgment. When we go into the presence practice, right? It's like when you feel it in the body, like we had my example. When we judge this, like, ugh, black boulder in my heart, that is not good, right? And there's that judgment, like that shouldn't be there. I don't want it. It's bad. That's the problem right there. And instead
mm.
of judgment, like just in the present moment, what can you offer it, right? Like can you offer your presence? And that's okay that if it's on the first step. Or for your
Mm.
parent, like, oh, stupid parent. They were worried all the time and now I took on their pattern. It's like,
Mm.
can be true, but then can we move to the other place of no judgment, of just like, it is what it is. Like that's just an energy and I take responsibility for what I took on.
Mm.
And I feel like letting go of judgment on so many, many levels. And I mean, that's kind of the fun of the process. See, that's the
Mm.
place where you're like talking about worry and you're like, oh, it's fun.
Yes, and of course, what's funny is that we are like, having a worries in our lives right now. They're so like present, right?
Yeah.
And we are so aware of them. And what I wanted to say was that you don't have to be on a spiritual journey to worry. You can be actually like, already like happy with whatever you have in your life, and everything. But notice that we always, no matter at which it's well, no matter at what stage of life we are, we always worry about something. Oh, there is not enough money, even though you have like maybe, I don't know, millions on your account. There is always some worry that you will lose it, or there is
Yeah.
a worry that your health will go wrong, or that something will be going on
Mm.
with your family, right? You don't have to be on a spiritual journey to actually like worry. Yeah.
I love
So
you brought this to awareness last thing. I know we're at time, but I want to just point on something that you said, which was so powerful. I think it was this week as we were just sharing things that are going on in our lives. And you're like, it's just this realization from this observer point, like, I'm just going to complain about anything. Like there's that part of you, the ego, is just like, you know what? It's just bottom line, it will just never be happy. And I remember that having that in my own experience when I just did this incredible thing for my inner child that was like on my vision board for a long time. And then I did it in that very evening. And I had a call with my mentor and I'm like, I realized like, what the hell? It's never enough. But it came from this like, "Ugh, it's never enough." And my mentor goes, "Yeah, it's never enough." And that's the goal right there. When you realize it's never enough and you
mm,
stop chasing the illusion of enoughness because it will
mm,
never be enough. And there's so
mm,
much freedom from that that
mm,
like um there's a part of you that's never going to be happy. And there's a part of you that's always going to worry about something. And
mm,
every time you get to love that part, and every time you get to come into wholeness, and every time you get to um, bring more presence to your life through this experience. Yeah. Oh my
Beautiful.
God. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for this talk. And God, we have to do so many lives like on nutrition, on
I'm just
sleep. I feel
thinking,
like that's
can we
another
speak
one.
more about the trust? Can
And
we
the
speak more
trust,
about
yeah, no, but
this?
I love it. I love it that today, we gave those action steps, surrendering, first of all, letting go of judgment. That was a big one. Actually, let's go from the beginning, just to like
Yes.
a summary. The first one was going into, wait, was that a pattern, right? It's like, who worried in my life? Like, who did I learn this from? Because it's not your default. You didn't come here worrying. You didn't come here feeling lack. It was a learned pattern. So where does it come from? And just identifying that you don't need to go into the rabbit hole of inner work. And I really recommend actually only doing this with facilitators. And if this work resonates, Judita's and my links are going to be below, because you can really go into the rabbit hole. It's like, all right, this is why. And like you're lowering your frequency by going into that story or by going into your parents or caregiver story. So that's like, stay away from that rabbit hole. Just bring it to awareness is what I would recommend doing on your own. The next one is just letting go of judgment and feeling into the body of like, okay, where is it in the body? And, we showed you guys how to do that. Surrendering it to the earth, working with the earth element because it's so grounding. The healing is available to you everywhere. Not contributing, not creating an environment that creates worry. And that is, your internal environment as well. So not consuming things that, are taking you off center, not consuming things that are shutting off your intuition, right? That are like not allowing you to connect to that inner knowing. Yeah, and I think that was it. Is there anything else that I missed, Judita?
Um, I wanted to actually say when you were speaking about judgment, maybe sometimes it's just noticing that you are judging,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, just like notice that you do it. From the beginning, I wasn't really letting go of judgment. I was just like noticing,
Just
oh
being
gosh, I just
aware.
the person. Oh my God, I just I
Yeah, it's
just
one of
did
those
that.
like, don't think of the pink elephant. It's like,
Yeah.
that's
And
all I can think of.
also food is the big thing, the nutrition,
Yes.
right? Like that, yes. Please, please, please.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here. Judita, thank you.